it's sort of unbelievably moving. It's a powerful scene when you sort of start to walk into the cemetery and you can see the flickering candles, and depending on what time you arrive, whether it's dark or whether it's just getting dark. But then definitely by the time you reach the top of the cemetery and you see the whole cemetery spread out, you can see all of those lives represented by an individual candle, and just you get such a huge scale of a sense of loss. What was the true sacrifice that led us to this reforming of our nation, right, into being the United States as it was post 1865, with emancipation, with a union that is reassured to be true and solid, and the cost in human life of what it truly was, and knowing that our cemetery is just a segment of that loss. We have 15,300 plus soldiers, and in some cases their wives or other people who are affiliated with the military who are buried in the National Cemetery. And again, you get this overwhelming sense of what the loss of life and the sacrifice was that led us to where we are.
Yeah, I would argue that, there's no more fitting place in this country to go on Memorial Day or Memorial Day weekend than the Fredericksburg National Cemetery, because Memorial Day is specifically to observe, those who have died in the service of this country, right? So that cemetery has 15,300 U.S. soldiers who died during a time of war in the service of this country, over 85% of which are unknown. So there's a lot of combat dead up there, or those who died from, wounds in combat. And there's much larger national cemeteries in this country, and I think it's always important to recognize our veterans and those who've fallen. But a lot of other national cemeteries have a lot of veterans who would, die outside of their service. But this Memorial Day holiday and the Fredericksburg National Cemetery is extremely significant in that regard.
Top of every hour, taps is played, and as it gets darker and darker, it's so moving.
Yeah. No, I know some people have asked me, what's the best time to come? And I would come at the beginning and I would stay till the end because it looks completely different. The experience is different. If you want to hear all the stories of all the soldiers that we're going to be representing, if you really want to take in taps, if you want to spend some quiet, reflective time among the graves and see really the full extent of the cemetery, like you could spend the entire time that we have the cemetery open and the luminaries lit.
We sometimes will tell folks who come to the park and ask about, their great-great-grandfather who died at the Battle of Fredericksburg, and if we can't find a grave with their name on it, well, then we tell these folks, well, they're buried somewhere up there. And rest assured that, at least once a year on Memorial Day, there's a flag placed at the grave and there's a luminary put there. Now, of course, we honor the graves every day of the year, but that's at a special time. But yeah, as you're getting at, since those unknown soldiers aren't going to have someone coming and visiting their grave specifically because they're unknown, this is, even more impetus on us to make sure that gets I recognize
We will have golf carts to provide access into the National Cemetery for folks who have any mobility impairments.
Okay.
Because we know that first hill can be really steep, and not all mobility devices can make it up easily. So we'll have the golf carts running to try to provide as much access to the cemetery through the whole night as we can. But yeah, we would encourage folks to come and spend as much or as little time as they'd like. We're glad that folks are coming out to honor and to remember the fallen.